Whoever is in your life that when they come in the room, they can change your mood, that's unforgiveness. When you see them, they can disrupt your attitude, that's unforgiveness. Whoever can come in and disrupt your peace has become your master. I'm gonna mess with you a little bit tonight. Because while I'm talking to you, I know them faces is coming up in front of your face right now. Yeah. Those faces are appearing before you right now as a sign that these are areas in your life where Christ is not Lord. They're Lord. Because when they walk in the room, they take control over your inside. I think that's too much power to give to somebody else. I think that's too much power to give to somebody else.
Every global movement begins with a single spark. Sometimes it is a whisper in the dark. Other times it is the steady rise of a voice that refuses to be ignored. The story of the Potter's House did not begin on a massive stage or inside a multi-million-dollar structure built for tens of thousands. It began in the quiet wrestling of one young preacher who believed that faith could shape futures even when resources were scarce. Before the world knew his name, Thomas Dexter Jakes preached in small storefronts, humble gatherings, and borrowed spaces where the chairs sometimes wobbled and the lights flickered. Yet something powerful lived inside those moments. People who entered discouraged left with renewed strength. People who were overlooked felt suddenly seen. A movement was forming long before anyone called it one. It was the early beginning of a story that would stretch across nations. A story that would transform countless lives. A story built on raw faith, persistence, and a calling too loud to ignore. This is how the Potter's House rose from almost nothing to become one of the most influential ministries in the world. T.D. Jakes grew up in South Charleston, West Virginia. His childhood was shaped by the lessons of hard work from his father, who was a businessman battling illness, and by the prayerful strength of his mother, who was a teacher. Life was not glamorous. It was grounded in discipline and responsibility. As a teenager, he preached to small groups and visited sick neighbors because compassion was natural to him. What people remember most about those early years is that he was always drawn to brokenness. He carried a sensitivity that made him notice pain even when others walked past it. While he dreamed of doing something meaningful, he had no roadmap and no guarantees. The powerful sermons that would later shake arenas began in small Sunday services, where he often preached to fewer than a dozen people. Still, he prepared his messages like he was speaking to thousands. His voice was strong even before the crowd was. That foundation of consistency in hidden places became one of the major forces that shaped his future ministry and his approach to leadership. In 1982, long before the Potter's House existed, T.D. Jakes started a small church in Montgomery, West Virginia, named Greater Emmanuel Temple of Faith. There were only about 10 members. The church lacked resources but never lacked heart. Week after week he preached, counseled, prayed, and encouraged. At first the growth was slow, almost silent. Yet people who heard him felt something genuine. They felt a message that was not just loud but deeply personal. He spoke about healing from emotional wounds. He spoke about finding identity in a world that constantly questioned worth. These themes resonated with single mothers, young men searching for direction, families facing financial stress, and people who felt unseen in traditional church spaces. As the years passed, that tiny congregation began to grow. What started as 10 members multiplied into hundreds. The reputation of a young preacher who carried both passion and empathy spread across the region. Without fame or financial backing, the ministry grew simply because hope is magnetic. When people find a message that speaks directly to their soul, the turning point came in the early 1990s when T.D. Jakes began hosting a conference called Woman, Thou Art Loosed. It was created to help women heal from trauma, rejection, abuse, and internal battles that many carried silently. What began as a small event quickly became a national phenomenon. Women traveled from cities across America because the message reached deep places many had never spoken about. The conference was raw. It was emotional. It was liberating. Soon the teachings expanded into books, stage plays, and later a major motion picture. The response was overwhelming. It was clear that this ministry was no longer just local. It was touching the world. Yet success did not go to waste. Instead, it became fuel for a bigger vision. T.D. Jakes realized that the message of healing and transformation needed a larger home. A place where people from all walks of life could gather. A place that would welcome thousands. That realization pushed him toward a major move that would change everything. In 1996, T.D. Jakes and his growing congregation relocated from West Virginia to Dallas, Texas. The move was bold. It required enormous faith because there were more uncertainties than guarantees. Yet he believed that Dallas was the place where the ministry would expand beyond limits. Shortly after arriving, the church purchased a former facility belonging to Eagle's Nest Church. The location had seats for thousands and provided the space needed for the vision that was unfolding. On July 4, 1996, the Potter's House officially opened its doors. That first service felt like the beginning of a new era. People from different states were already traveling to attend. The worship was powerful. The sermons were transformative. The atmosphere carried a sense of destiny. In just a short time, the Potter's House became one of the fastest-growing churches in America. Reporters were curious. Churches studied it. Individuals found hope within it. The dream that began in a small storefront had now stepped onto the national stage. As the ministry expanded, one of its signatures became its diversity. People from different backgrounds found a home there. Business leaders sat next to recovering addicts. Celebrities worshipped beside single mothers. The Potter's House became a melting pot of stories, struggles, and victories. Many said they felt a sense of family the moment they walked in. It was not a place built around perfection. It was built around healing. The church developed outreach programs for prisoners, support for the homeless, counseling for families, and empowerment sessions for those trying to rebuild their lives. The message was simple. Everyone deserved a chance at transformation. While other ministries focused heavily on appearance or tradition, the Potter's House focused on restoration and purpose. T.D. Jakes preached with emotional depth. He used biblical wisdom to address real-world issues. That approach made people feel understood in a personal way. The church became a safe space for anyone who needed a fresh start. Behind every sermon was a deep understanding of pain. T.D. Jakes often said that he was drawn to broken people because he understood what it meant to fight battles quietly. The Potter's House became a sanctuary where tears were not seen as weakness, but as signs of release. Worship events filled the large auditorium with an atmosphere that felt like healing in motion. Many visitors who expected a typical church experience left with something far more intimate. They felt seen. They felt valued. And they felt equipped to rebuild their lives. Conferences like MegaFest attracted tens of thousands from around the world and created a blend of faith, creativity, music, and empowerment. The ministry also expanded into television broadcasts that reached millions weekly. It became one of the most influential voices in Christian media. Still, the heart of the ministry remained the same, helping ordinary people find extraordinary strength. As the Potter's House grew, so did the need for wider impact. T.D. Jakes developed programs that focused on leadership, economic empowerment, youth development, and community transformation. The church invested in educational initiatives, job fairs, mentorship programs, and support for victims of domestic violence. These efforts created real change in Dallas communities. People who once felt stuck were given opportunities to start again. The ministry understood that spiritual growth should be paired with practical support. The combination made the Potter's House unique. It was not just a place for worship. It was a place for rebuilding lives. The belief that faith should walk alongside action became a defining principle. Many who came for spiritual guidance ended up receiving the tools needed for personal and financial growth. This holistic approach helped shape the identity of the church as a center for empowerment and renewal. One of the most defining moments for T.D. Jakes came when he stepped into the world of filmmaking. His ability to tell stories of resilience and redemption opened doors in Hollywood. Films such as Woman Thou Art Loosed and Not Easily Broken reached audiences far beyond the church walls. They carried messages that were relatable, emotional, and deeply human. Through film, T.D. Jakes introduced the values of healing and forgiveness to millions who never attended a service. His work helped bridge the gap between faith and mainstream storytelling. It also positioned the Potter's House as a ministry that understood culture and was willing to engage with it rather than stand apart from it. This creative expansion continued to shape his global influence and allowed the ministry to speak to people from different backgrounds and beliefs. The Potter's House also embraced digital innovation early. Long before online streaming became popular, the ministry broadcast services to millions through television and later through the internet. The global reach took the message far beyond Dallas. People from Africa, Europe, the Caribbean, and Asia tuned in every week. Many said they considered the Potter's House their church, even though they had never stepped inside the building. When social media platforms became common, the ministry adapted quickly. Motivational clips, sermons, and short teachings spread rapidly across the world. The combination of technology and genuine spiritual content created a massive online community. This global audience made the Potter's House one of the most influential ministries of the modern era. T.D. Jakes became known not only as a pastor, but as a thought leader in leadership, creativity, and personal development. He spoke at major conferences, business forums, and leadership summits. His voice reached corporate executives, political leaders, and young entrepreneurs. He encouraged people to embrace vision, discipline, and innovation. Many admired the way he combined spirituality with practical wisdom. His books became bestsellers, and his teachings inspired countless individuals to pursue purpose with courage. What made his message powerful was that it came from experience. He had built a global ministry from almost nothing. He understood the journey of starting small, facing opposition, and growing steadily through faith and commitment. His story proved that beginnings do not define outcomes. The Potter's House eventually grew into a multi-campus ministry with locations in Dallas, Denver, Los Angeles, Fort Worth, and other cities through partnerships. Each location carried the same mission of healing and empowerment. Thousands attended weekly services and millions watched online. The ministry became known for excellence in music, production, and organizational leadership. It influenced worship culture across the world. Gospel artists, choir directors, and music teams studied its style. Pastors visited to learn leadership structure and community engagement strategies. Conferences hosted at the Potter's House drew leaders from various industries. The ministry had become a blueprint for modern church growth. Yet through all the expansion, it never lost its focus on people. The heartbeat remained compassion and transformation. T.D. Jakes also became a strong advocate for social justice and community development. He addressed issues affecting marginalized communities including poverty, inequality, mental health, and education. He partnered with organizations to provide resources, training, and opportunities for underserved groups. His influence reached the White House under multiple administrations, where he participated in discussions about national unity, policy reform, and community improvement. He became a voice that spoke for those often ignored. The Potter's House hosted events addressing racial reconciliation, family stability, financial empowerment, and emotional healing. These efforts strengthened its reputation as a ministry committed to action. People respected the balance between faith and real-world involvement. It showed that spirituality was not separate from society, but an essential part of building better communities. Through the years, the Potter's House continued to evolve. The ministry developed programs for youth, empowering teenagers and young adults with mentorship, career development, and spiritual guidance. Many young people joined the church after encountering its creative and relatable approach. Worship became a blend of traditional reverence and modern expression. The environment felt welcoming to both older adults and younger generations. This balance created a sense of unity across age groups. People felt that their voices mattered regardless of their background or season of life. The leadership team grew with dynamic pastors, ministers, and creative directors who carried the vision forward with excellence. The growth was not just numerical. It was cultural, spiritual, and generational. One of the most inspiring aspects of the story is how T.D. Jakes handled challenges. Leading a global ministry inevitably comes with scrutiny, pressure, and obstacles. Yet he remained focused on the mission. He used criticism as fuel rather than a barrier. He taught that storms shape character and prepare individuals for greater assignments. The authenticity of the ministry attracted people who wanted to experience faith in a real and practical way. Many testimonies emerged from the church. Stories of families restored, addictions broken, careers launched, confidence rebuilt. These stories showed that the ministry was effective not because of its size, but because of its impact on individual lives. The Potter's House became a place where impossible situations were met with hope. As the ministry expanded globally, T.D. Jakes remained dedicated to pastoral care. Despite leading millions, he still emphasized compassion, humility, and personal connection. He taught leaders to serve with integrity and to value people above platforms. His leadership style influenced pastors worldwide. Many adopted his approach of combining spiritual depth with cultural relevance. The Potter's House continued to operate with excellence in media, outreach, worship, and administration. Life-changing conferences such as Woman Thou Art Loosed and MegaFest continued to shape lives across continents. The ministry's influence grew not through aggressive promotion, but through genuine transformation that people willingly share. In recent years, T.D. Jakes created new opportunities for impact by launching T.D. Jakes Enterprises. This platform focuses on leadership, real estate development, community transformation, and creative storytelling. One of the significant projects includes developing affordable housing and community spaces in underserved neighborhoods. The goal is to create long-term solutions for economic advancement. This expansion shows that his mission goes beyond the church. It reaches into culture, business, and community development. The Potter's House remains a spiritual center, while T.D. Jakes Enterprises broadens the practical reach. Both arms of the vision work together to uplift individuals and strengthen communities. The global recognition that follows is a result of consistent service and purposeful leadership. The legacy of the Potter's House is built on the idea that God shapes people the way a potter shapes clay. This message resonates because it acknowledges brokenness while promising transformation. People are not defined by their past. They can be molded into purpose and greatness. This simple yet profound truth draws millions into the ministry even today. Visitors from around the world attend services hoping to experience healing or direction. Many find exactly what they need. The atmosphere feels alive with worship, hope, and expectation. It reminds people that no matter how life has unfolded, there is always a chance for renewal. That belief remains at the core of everything the Potter's House represents. Today, the Potter's House stands as one of the most influential ministries in the world. It reaches millions through digital platforms, conferences, films, books, and community initiatives. The message has remained consistent for decades. Healing, hope, purpose, empowerment. It is a ministry built on resilience, creativity, and uncompromising faith. What began with 10 members in a small storefront has transformed into a global beacon of inspiration. The journey is proof that faith can take something small and make it extraordinary. T.D. Jakes often says that purpose has a rhythm. When people align themselves with that rhythm, doors open, opportunities appear, and destinies unfold. The Potter's House is living evidence of that truth. The story continues to inspire people who feel like they are starting from nothing. It shows that humble beginnings do not disqualify greatness. It shows that consistency, faith, and compassion can build something that impacts nations. The Potter's House is more than a church. It is a movement. It is a family. It is a place where broken pieces become masterpieces. From the small streets of West Virginia to the global stage of Dallas. From a handful of members to millions of followers across continents. From nothing to global impact. The journey of the Potter's House proves that vision can create a future far greater than anyone imagines. It remains a reminder that powerful things grow from places most people overlook. And that when purpose meets persistence, the world cannot remain the same.